there is a supernatural world, and many of you watching have had supernatural confrontations, and that's why we produce this show pretty much on a daily basis. We'll see you on the other side of the break with a very special guest. Her name is Carrie. She had an encounter. I think you'll find her story very, very interesting. But first, a word from our sponsor, Noble Gold. Now it's time to set the goals for the next cycle of inflation. This way, you're always moving forward, growing, making money, not losing it. Imagine having more freedom and more fun. Start a gold IRA with Noble Gold now and fight inflation. And this month, for every IRA above $20,000, you'll get an incredible 3-ounce silver American Virtue coin completely free as a thank you. You can't go wrong with Noble Gold. Call 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347. Or to find out more, visit noblegoldinvestments.com. Every Sunday, millions of us go to churches all across America. And we hear stories of floating axe heads, talking donkeys, the sea, the Red Sea, parts, and the water stands up like a heap, men that walk on water, water that's changed to wine. Folks, the supernatural world is real. We read about it every day in our Bibles. However, many of us, when confronted with the supernatural, short circuit. Many of the churches don't want to deal with anything supernatural. If you're demon possessed or you're even oppressed, most churches just kind of go, not here, thank you. I get emails all the time now from people that are having problems in this area, and the churches just will not deal with it. For the most part, there are ministries that will deal with it. Bully for those pastors. If you've had an encounter, an angelic encounter, if you've been visited at night, if you've had sleep paralysis, if you've seen grays, been abducted, been taken, implanted, anything like that, please shoot me an email, la@lamarzulli.net. We now have a procedure. We read the email, then I get back to you. If I think the story is worth running with, then we do a Zoom chat, and we present that Zoom chat right here. Today's show is with Carrie. Her name is Carrie, and she had an encounter. It's extremely interesting, and it's in two parts. Oftentimes, when the camera is running, when we're actually recording, they tell the story, and then when the camera goes off, and you'll see it right here, we get to something that's incredible. The reason why I want to bring this up today is because Carrie and her mother have an encounter with a craft that flies directly over them. It's back in 81, all right? And then they don't speak about it for like 20 years. That's not normal. That is not a normal reaction. If we saw something, let's say we saw two eagles, majestic bird, fly over the car. We talk about that, right? We'd go home and go, wow, we saw these two beautiful eagles and they flew right over our car, really low. It was incredible to see their wingspan. I had no idea they were that, but we would talk about it, right? So here they have a supernatural confrontation and they don't say a word about it for 20 years. Why is that? UFO brain fog. I truly believe that people are somehow shut down. And no, they're given like the suggestion, like we see in Star Wars, these are not the droids you're looking for. It's that type of deal. And they see it, they never talk about it again. Sometimes for 20, 30 years. And we hear this over and over. It's not only with Carrie, it's with many other witnesses. And people don't talk about it. Here's the interview. Hope you enjoy it. I'll see you on the other side. I'm here for another episode of Supernatural Confrontations, and I do believe that our guest today is Carrie in an undisclosed location, and she's bold enough and adventurous enough to come on the record here, and in her own words, she'll tell us what she saw. And the reason why we do this, folks, is because the whole UFO phenomenon has become mainstream, and people have had sightings and have encounters, and they've kept them to themselves. So this platform, a supernatural confrontation platform, is a platform to air all this right here on YouTube. And we just thank you, Carrie, for coming on the record. So you had an encounter. Let's go back in time. How old were you? Give us the backstory and then tell us what you saw.
It was somewhere around maybe early summer, 81, 82. I was probably 14, 15 years old.
And so you're with your mother, you're going to go pay a bill because you've already told me the story, but you're in the car and it's 20 minutes 20 minutes to the place, 20 minutes back. You're going to play, I think it's J.C. Penney's or Sears, something like that, and pick up the story.
Yeah, we were going to pay one of my mother's bills after we had dinner. So the evening traffic was already calmed down, and it had just gotten dark where the street lights were on. And we were headed south. And as we turned out of our neighborhood, I saw a bright light, and it was like just above the street lights. And I thought it was a helicopter. So I unrolled the window, and as we get closer, I said, "Mom, that's not a helicopter. Do you see that?" I said, "It's not a helicopter. There's no noise." And so she said, "I can't look at it. I gotta drive." So she's driving slow, and as we get kind of like I said, it was up above the street light, and we get almost directly up under it, and I have the window rolled down. I'm sticking my head out the window looking up, and it was a spherical object. It was metallic looking, and on the bottom side of it that I was looking at, there was 3 white lights that if I drew a line from light to light, it formed a triangle under the bottom of it. And at the base of the triangle was a blue fluorescent looking light. And as my mom continued to drive by, I turned completely around in my seat to watch this thing. And it kind of elevated some above a neighborhood that was right there. And it got to about treetop level, which is the tall pine trees, as it glided over that neighborhood, over the pine trees, going towards my house where I had just come from. So we were gone about 20 minutes and came back, and could have been like 40 because it's 20 minutes there, 20 minutes back.
Right.
And as we pulled into the driveway and parked, there were 2 military helicopters coming from the same direction that I saw this object and coming towards our house. And they flew right over our property, and they had the spotlights on, like they were looking for something. And I don't know why. It's just like, wonder what that was. And we got out of the car. We never spoke of it again. And just the other night, I did call her because I guess my curiosity finally got the best of me. Like, I don't know why we never talked about that.
Exactly.
And I asked her, and she's 83. She's in very good health, and she said she remembered it. And so I was like, wow. So I told her, I said, I don't know why we never discussed it after that. It's just weird. But
you told me you were like 14 at the time?
Yeah, between 15.
How many years ago was this event?
Well, that was 81, 82, somewhere around there.
It's like, 40 years anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And so you wait 40 years, and then you finally call your mom and ask her, and she remembers the event. Why is it, and just so you know, I've heard this over and over and over again. And so we have an encounter, and then we don't talk about it for 20 years. And it seems like this is like the status quo. It's almost like, these are not the droids you're looking for. Someone gives you a mental suggestion and you just let it go. Did the newspapers in the area run any type of a story, radio? Did anybody else see it? Was there any scuttlebutt, going around in the media, local media?
No, nothing was ever said. Because I did kind of listen out for, anything to come on the news or the newspaper, because my mom would always have the newspaper on the table for my dad in the mornings, and never heard anything. I was always curious if anyone in that neighborhood saw it or had any experiences, but I didn't know anybody in that neighborhood at that time to ask. So.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. And, folks, I know a lot of you who are watching this, you've got stories. Shoot me an email, la@lamarzulli.net. We screen them as best as we possibly can. We try to have contact with people via email or a phone call before we do the Zoom chat. But this, supernatural confrontations, this is a platform for you to share your story and get it out there, because people have a right to know that not only UFOs, but everything else that goes with it, gray aliens, abductions, cattle mutilations. You might be a rancher that's had 2 or 3 cows in the last 30 years just disappear. And then you find them in the field and they've been completely mutilated. So if you've got a story, please shoot me an email, la@lamarzulli.net. And if you're bold enough and willing enough to come on the record, we'll set up a Zoom chat and right here. But Carrie, I want to thank you so much for coming on the record. Is there anything else you'd like to say before I let you go?
Well, I know we lived close to the Mayport Naval Base at that time, so kind of used to seeing, jets flying around, helicopters all the time. But as I was keeping my eye on that, whatever it was, I knew that it wasn't anything that we had. And as I watched it, it was gone, shot across to the eastern sky. It was like just a blink of an eye and a streak of light, and it was gone.
That's the one. When I was 12 years old, I had an encounter with 3 of the boys at Boy Scout camp. And when, the thing was a metallic disc, classic metallic disc, just hovering. And when the thing shot up, it was like gone in a blink of an eye. You talk like a bullet out of a gun. It just went boop like that and gone. You can't, the G-forces alone would kill someone. So again, going to Bob Lazar, so here's the craft right here. There's a gravity wave, and the gravity wave pulls the craft along. So there is no G-force. You don't feel any acceleration. Because you're bending space, time, and gravity. You're basing the space, you're bending, if you're in that craft, bending the space-time continuum. I don't really understand how that works, but Lazar talked about it in the 90s. But Carrie, thank you so much for coming on the record. Really appreciate it. You're courageous, and people need to hear that UFOs are real, burgeoning, and not going away. And that's why we started this new platform once again, Supernatural Confrontations. We'll see you again tomorrow with another episode. And as always, sometimes when you turn the camera off, folks, the best stuff happens. I'm used to it. Carrie, off camera, we had ended the interview when you started talking about why it's important that people discuss this. Please tell us again what your thoughts were there.
Well, this is a spiritual battle that we're in, and in order to fight it, to win, you're going to have to acknowledge that you're in a spiritual battle. You have to acknowledge that it does exist, so you'll know how to fight it, because nobody's getting out of here, with no oppression, nothing. You're going to have to fight, or you're dead. Basically, you either fight it or you're dead.
And of course, what you're talking about, fighting with the armor of God that we have in the name of Jesus. We put on the armor of God, Ephesians 6, and we clothe ourselves with that and proclaim victory, and then heaven comes to fight for us. Yes.
There's no other power in heaven or in earth or below the earth but the name of Jesus and in Jesus.
Thank you for that last statement. I really appreciate it. God bless you, and thanks for coming on the record. Anyway, folks, there you have it. If you have a supernatural confrontation, an angelic encounter, been abducted, implants, grays, had an encounter with a hybrid, a hooded figure, if you've had angels come and save you, if you've seen the Lord, and some people have actually had encounters with Jesus. So we might get into that a little bit later in another episode. The bottom line for me is this, that the supernatural is real, and it's manifesting in ways that I've never seen before. In other words, the veil that separates where we live here from the other world seems to be thinning and very quickly. Miracles are happening. People are praying for people and they're getting healed, which reminds me, please lift up Don. Keep him in your prayers, please. I don't know whether he's doing, I think he's out of hospital now, but please keep him in your prayers. He needs them. I'll just leave it at that. Anyway, folks, if you've had a supernatural confrontation, please shoot me an email, la@lamarzulli.net, la@lamarzulli.net, and we just might get back to you with an email and interview you right here on Supernatural Confrontations. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, we'll see you on the air or in the air.